Chapter 13, Dead Town Walking. They gon' tell stories about Bent Horn, but they ain't gon' tell the truth. Bent Horn was no longer a town. It was a graveyard with street signs. Every house they passed looked like it had screamed itself empty. Burned curtains, busted doors, baby toys scattered on front lawns like their owners just vanished mid-play. Not a bark, not a hum. Just that thick, breathless stillness that came after death already had its fill and left the bones behind for rot. Smoke and K-Doll walked down Magnolia Street, each step slower than the last. The gravel crunched under boots that hadn't dried in 2 days, soaked in sewer water and burnt flesh. Her left arm hung limp in a bloody sling. His right hand trembled when he wasn't clenching it. Both of them looked like war survivors. But this wasn't war. War had rules. This shit? This was a fucking curse. They crossed Federal Avenue. Nothing moved. No sirens, no state troopers, not even a curious raccoon. Just the buzz of the broken traffic light above them, blinking red like a lazy heartbeat that forgot why it started. "Still think help coming?" K-Doll muttered. Smoke didn't answer. She looked over. "Didn't think so." Behind them, a screen door slammed. Both spun, shotgun up, machete half raised, but it was just the wind, or so they hoped. The air smelled wrong again, that same copper and sulfur stink that came when the creature was close. Not all the way here, but near enough to whisper death down your neck hairs. K-Doll sucked in air through her teeth. "Let's get back to the yard," Smoke said, eyes scanning the alleyways. "We don't got long." Back in the junkyard, the sun started to bleed orange across the horizon like even God was tired of looking at this place. Smoke flipped over the old Camaro hood and laid out their shit. What was left of it? Half a can of napalm mix, 4 shotgun shells, 2 mason jars of red diesel, and the thing Redbone called his last kiss. A busted-ass Claymore mine, wrapped in duct tape and barbed wire, with a handwritten note taped to the front that just said, "Fuck you." It was beautiful. "Got a plan?" K-Doll asked, kneeling down and wincing. Smoke pulled a half-burnt cigarette from behind his ear and lit it with a match he struck off a hubcap. "Yeah," he muttered. "Die loud." K-Doll snorted. "Ain't no other way left." They worked through the dusk, setting traps through the junk rows like a trail of hate. Wire snares, oil slicks, car batteries hooked to nails, old propane tanks rigged to light up on impact. A funnel path that led straight to the heart of the yard, where they'd make their last stand. This wasn't about killing it anymore. This was about making sure it remembered them. At midnight, the hum returned. A low, rhythmic pulse that felt more felt than heard. K-Doll sat against an engine block, breathing shallow, sweat pouring down her forehead despite the chill. Smoke stood behind her, gripped tight on the shotgun, eyes locked on the main gate. He whispered, "You hear it?" She nodded. "It's coming." Then silence. No footsteps, no screech, just in silence. Then a sound like wet meat being dragged across broken glass. Smoke raised the barrel. The gate creaked. Then it opened slow, without touch. And there it was. The motherfucker. Limping. Black veins glowing faintly under translucent skin that looked more like stretched jelly than anything that ever belonged to the earth. One arm twisted backward, jaw slack and open, with those goddamn faces still pressing out of its gut like souls screaming through saran wrap. But it was slower now. Weaker. Still dangerous. Still death with legs, but wounded. Burnt. Pissed off. K-Doll stood. "You ready?" she whispered. Smoke nodded. "I was born ready. Just ain't know I'd be using it for this." They stepped forward. The traps clicked behind them. The ground waited. So did the devil. The thing didn't charge. It just watched, like it remembered them now. Like it knew what was waiting, and still didn't give a fuck. Smoke took 2 slow steps forward, shotgun up. K-Doll limped beside him, that blood-streaked sling stiff on her burned arm, but her jaw tight, eyes locked. "You think it can smell fear?" she whispered. "Nah," Smoke said, "but it sure can smell pain." The creature cocked its head sideways like a curious dog trying to solve a riddle made of rage and guts. It took one step, right onto a tripwire. Click. Boom. A propane tank ignited behind it, throwing a fireball 10 feet wide, lighting the sky orange and blasting rusted metal across the yard. But the motherfucker walked through it. Flames curled around its flesh but didn't stop it, didn't even slow it. Its glowing gut pulsated harder, brighter, like pain was fuel. It kept coming. "Next one," Smoke shouted. K-Doll raised her good arm and tossed a mason jar of diesel. Glass shattered on the creature's chest. And the second trap lit it the fuck up. Flames tore across its translucent skin, exposing raw black muscle beneath. It screamed. Not like a human, but like 100 voices crying from deep inside its belly. You could hear Mookie in there. Could hear Tanisha. Could hear every poor soul that thing swallowed begging for release. It dropped to one knee. Smoke didn't hesitate. He fired 2 shells. Bam, bam. One hit its leg, shattering the joint. The other caught it in the side of the head. Blood, or what looked like it, sprayed the dirt in thick globs of dark gray slime. The thing fell, twitching, smoking, but not dead. Smoke lowered the shotgun, chest heaving. "Is that it?" K-Doll gasped, crawling closer with the machete gripped tight. It lay there, spasming, mouth open, jaw slack. "Don't get close," Smoke warned. She nodded. They stood in silence. 1 minute, 2, 3. Then Smoke took a step forward and whispered, "Maybe." The fucking thing leapt. In one blur of movement, it snatched K-Doll by the leg and slammed her into the engine block like a doll made of bones and blood. She screamed once, then went limp. Smoke let out a roar and lit the claymore fuse. The creature turned, mouth wide, and charged at him, crawling now, wild and shrieking, dragging burnt limbs and leaving a trail of black steam behind it. Smoke held the trigger, held it, let the thing get 5 feet from his boots. "Redbone says hi," he growled, then pressed the switch. Boom! The blast tore through the night like the earth itself belched fury. Smoke flew back 15 feet, cracked his head on a bumper, and saw stars and fire, and maybe even God for a second. The air went quiet. Too quiet. When he came to, the world smelled like metal and ash and singed skin. He coughed. Then sat up, blood leaking from his nose, one eye swollen shut. The creature was still moving. Barely. But it was dragging itself through the dirt, intestines spilling from its side, half its jaw blown clean off. Smoke crawled toward it, one arm dragging the shotgun. K-Doll's body was limp in the distance. He couldn't even check if she was breathing. He had to end this. He got to his knees. The thing looked up, its eye sockets black pits of hatred and hunger. "You done?" Smoke rasped. "We ain't got nothing left to feed you." He raised the shotgun one last time. Click. Empty. The creature hissed, low and wet, then pounced. Smoke closed his eyes, waited for teeth, waited for pain. Crack! A jagged metal rod impaled the thing through the throat midair, slamming it into the dirt with a gurgled cry. K-Doll stood behind it, bleeding, fucked up, but standing. "Miss me, bitch," she muttered. Smoke grinned through the blood. "Told you was stubborn." The creature writhed once more and stopped. Smoke grabbed a torch from the ground, stumbled over, and set its gut on fire. The final scream it let out wasn't one voice. It was all of them. Smoke and K-Doll sat against the rusted shell of a school bus, steam rising from the smoldering corpse between them. Its body was still twitching, not alive, just leftover nerves doing their last dance. The fire had carved black trenches across its see-through flesh, revealing the gooey, squirming mess of something that never should have existed. K-Doll stared down at her burned arm. The bandages were gone now, melted to the skin. She didn't cry. Didn't scream. Just looked. Like she'd gone beyond pain into some other zone. The place your mind takes you when everything you know gets chewed up and spit out in front of you. Smoke coughed, thick blood trailing from his lip. It's dead. She nodded slow. That thing ain't breathing. Ain't twitching right. You think they gon' believe us? He gave a laugh that turned into a choke. Ain't nobody believing shit. The silence that followed was too loud. The kind that sat in your bones. No sirens, no helicopters, not even the hum of bugs anymore. Just that breeze rolling off the trees like a funeral whisper. Smoke stood up, barely, and limped to what was left of the junkyard gate. He looked out across Bent Horn. It looked like hell. Storefronts blackened, roads torn open like scar tissue, blood trails dried like highways leading nowhere, mailboxes bent like broken teeth, and bodies. Way too many bodies. Most you couldn't even call human anymore, just pieces. Pieces that would never go back together. He turned back. We the only ones left? Kadal didn't answer. Just nodded toward the shotgun she'd duct taped together. You saved one shell? Yeah. Good. They knew what that meant. Not in case the thing came back, but in case something worse showed up. They spent the next hour gathering what they could. Food, water, a radio that only picked up static. There was no power, no signals, no trucks coming, no government knocking. It was just them. Bent Horn was gone, not wiped off the map, just erased spiritually, like whatever had lived here was scrubbed away and replaced with rot. And the rot was still watching. Smoke stood over the body one more time, this time with a crowbar. He smashed what was left of its chest in, then its gut, then its spine. He kept going until he was gasping, blood dripping from his nose, sweat and tears mixing with the soot on his face. Don't ever want this motherfucker coming back, he muttered. Kadal didn't stop him. When he finally collapsed, they set what was left ablaze with a full tank of diesel in every match they had, watched it burn down to bone, and then they walked. 3 miles outside, Bent Horn sat a radio tower no one had used in years. Half the fence was down. The door hung off its hinges. Smoke and Kadal kicked it in and dragged what was left of their supplies inside. There were papers on the desk from the 90s, an old black and white screen that flickered with static, and a desk lamp that briefly blinked when Kadal jiggled the wires. Bet, she whispered. Give me a minute. She sat down, patched the power through a car battery they'd salvaged, and fed it juice from a solar panel rigged to a busted satellite dish. The radio buzzed. Smoke looked at her. You sure? She didn't answer. Then she flipped the switch. Breaker 19. This Kadal out of Bent Horn. Repeat. This is Keisha Dillard, alive and breathing. I got another with me. Name's Smoke. We 2 survivors from the incident. If you out there and you hear me, don't come. Don't send nobody. We handled it, but it wasn't alone. I repeat, it wasn't alone. A pause. She turned to Smoke. He nodded. She clicked the mic one last time. Something else is coming. Then silence. But far off in the distance, buried under static and hiss, a voice crackled. You ain't supposed to be alive. Then it cut out. The screen went black.